Last weekend I was in the car heading to my grandparents' house in Brownwood. If you haven't heard of Brownwood, I'm not surprised. It's a sleepy little town in the countryside of Texas. Now for me, Brownwood is full of family traditions. Whenever we arrive, my sister and I always take the same bedroom. There isn't a question of who gets what. It's already been decided by the decorating, which is distinctly feminine. Our days usually consist of staying up late in the glow of my iPad screen, then sleeping in and watching more once we wake up, until it's time for lunch. By now you've probably noticed what appears to be some extremely terrible filming skills. This is a result of me trying to be discreet while capturing footage. Don't worry, it gets better. After we've been filled with food, usually we head over to my Mimi's shop. My grandmother has owned her own shop ever since I remember, and it's a regular part of family life. It's certainly one of the most impressive shops in the town. Very high quality, very organized. The back rooms tend to be my favorite, filled with ribbons, wrapping paper, and merchandise not yet put on the floor. I've spent countless hours back here, many times surrounded by cousins and siblings, usually doing some kind of work. I couldn't even try to remember how many presents I've wrapped down here during the holiday seasons especially. With the exit of the room come reminders. Customers come first, sell as much as you're paid. All are important things to remember when running a shop. The hallways always fill me with nostalgia. Pictures of me, my siblings, and my cousins, all in black and white, all taken years ago. Sometimes it's easy to forget that once I was a child. It's hard to remember that far back, and sometimes I wonder what it was like, what I was like. In the Vera Bradley section of the store, they are setting up for a college sale. The fact that I'm able to offer so many suggestions reminds me of how close I am to coming to the next stage of my life. I'm reminded again of that rare childhood innocence in the car ride home from the shop when my brother shows off his latest invention. He seems quite proud of it, his iPhone. I guess he figured taping his iPod to the back of his phone was somehow cooler than having them separate. Once I get home, I take some time to admire my grandparents' backyard. I've always recognized that it was quite beautiful, but I don't know if I fully appreciated it until I saw it through my camera lens. Sometimes beautiful surroundings can change the way you think. Looking out over the yard, I was filled with a need to create, to write, to film. It looked like something out of a fairy tale, but in real life, in my life. It reminded me that sometimes the best of stories are reflections of our own life. We don't visit our great-grandparents often. Most of them have passed on, and it doesn't seem very unusual for those visits to be few and far between. I don't think I've met many of my parents' cousins. In practice, this feels completely normal. These are distant family members, ones you don't necessarily have the time to see. But when I think about it, it seems unusual. There will be a time in my life when I will have kids, and to them my Mimi and granddad will be their great-grandparents, their extended family. If I follow the pattern of most individuals, I'll visit less and less. Eventually, finally, I won't visit at all. I don't necessarily want this to happen. I just don't know how to avoid it yet.